My 27F ex-partner's 28M new girlfriend 24F is trying to play house with my child. 4F. Original story. My ex-boyfriend is James. James and I dated for 3 years and broke up around 2 years ago. Since my daughter is obviously older than 3, it's clear that she is not biologically James's daughter. Her father was not someone who wanted to be involved with her and signed away all rights when she was born, so he is not even in the picture. James and I were originally friends, which grew into a relationship when my daughter was around the age of 1. As my daughter grew a little bit older, she saw James as a de facto parent, a role that he happily stepped up to. She knows that he isn't daddy, but she has the strongest bond with him of anyone outside of the biological family. Our relationship finished owing to a difference in personal timelines. James wanted to buy a house together. We had lived together in the last year, but we each still had our own places and moved to another city for work. While I was happy where I was located, it became a self-imposed ultimatum, and while James didn't actually move, it was clear that our relationship was over. We stayed friends, and he changed from the de facto dad to fun Uncle James to my daughter. We have both made sure that she was stable about the situation, something that she clearly seems to be, as I do with other friends. My daughter and I will occasionally visit James, who sometimes has my daughter without me there for a couple of hours at a time if I have to run errands or something similar. I have no reason at all to worry about James with my daughter, who is always all smiles and 5 more minutes mom when I get back. About 6 months ago, James started dating Tracy. She is someone that he works with, who I actually first met while we were dating. Their relationship itself isn't the issue. However, there have been instances that have caused concern in the past few months. The first was when James invited me and my daughter around for a play date with James's nephew, who he was babysitting. Tracy was there too, which I expected. However, when we arrived and James greeted my daughter with a hug, she commented on how she looked like her daddy, meaning James. Both James and I said that my daughter wasn't James's child, which is something James later said had come up in conversation between them before. She only remarked that she meant they had a strong father-daughter bond, which I thought was not the thing to say, but ignored. There have been a couple of other times when I have seen Tracy, either out and about or at planned events, when she has said that my daughter really likes spending time with James, which I obviously know, though I just took it as an awkward ex's chat. The reason I am posting is about what happened a couple of days ago. Again, James was babysitting his nephew and had invited me and my daughter to the park for an afternoon. We get there, and everything is fine until my phone rings, and I'm told that there's an emergency in the office that I have to sort out because X, Y, and Z aren't picking up their phone. I mentioned this, and James and Tracy offered to look after my daughter and stay in the park while I rush over to the office, only a 5-minute drive to sort out the problem. I'm gone for about half an hour. Overall, the issue wasn't really an issue, as it never is, and when I get back, everyone is where I left them, and all happy. We started getting ready to go home when Tracy mentioned to me that someone that she knew, an amateur photographer, happened to be in the park taking pictures of the landscape and had taken a couple of shots of the group, my daughter included, and that she'd send them over because they were apparently really sweet. I was a bit perturbed by someone apparently just coming over and photographing my child, but I thought I'd let it slide and decided it was only a nice gesture. A couple of hours later, Tracy sent me the solo pictures of my daughter. She says that she didn't give her friend permission to use any of the solo pictures of my daughter on her professional page, but the ones of the scenery and of James's nephew were on there. And if I wanted to give consent, then my daughters could be on there too. They were actually very cute, and I looked on the photographer's page to see the rest of the day. There were some sweet candids of the nephew and some nice couple shots of James and Tracy, but the last picture on there was a family-style portrait of everyone, my daughter included. The caption said something like, "The James's surname and Track's surname know how to have fun." I immediately messaged the page asking for the picture to be taken down as it had my daughter on it without my permission. They replied by apologizing for the issue, saying that Tracy had said that the little girl was James's, and he gave his consent. I then messaged James, asking him not to give consent for anything involving my daughter and to remind Tracy yet again that he is not my daughter's father. He replied, saying that he never gave his consent for any group pictures to be on there, and he resented the accusation. I messaged Tracy later on, making it clear that I didn't want my daughter to be used in any kind of situation where the facts weren't clear. And no, James was not her father. I didn't get a reply. I don't know where to go from here. I don't want to be that ex-girlfriend who tries to get her ex to sneak around behind his girlfriend's back for him to see my daughter, but at the same time, he's done nothing to stop Tracy from acting out this charade of my daughter being James's and therefore hers. If I just cut them both out, then my daughter will be confused, though I know she'll bounce back. I know that James will be hurt too, but I need to put my and my daughter's feelings before that. It's just getting to me that we were able to be fine and stable through our whole breakup, yet a completely unavoidable situation, if it is what will finish this off. Should I just move on without James and Tracy in my and my daughter's lives? Am I simply overreacting and becoming that ex regardless? Now for the update. So, I got a lot more interest in my post than I expected. While somewhere on either end of the spectrum, the majority seemed to suggest that James was too involved in my daughter's life. I had a long think about why I had pursued this route. To clarify to some, I did not force James into this position. He was happy to maintain a relationship with my daughter, given that he had been in her life for several years. The comments concerning where my daughter would be as and when James settled down and got married and had kids of his own also made me think. The situation was definitely one of convenience, especially given the fact that our relationship ended since James wanted to move away, and I did not. I definitely had no plans to change any of James's life choices, nor did I ever expect him to prioritize myself and my daughter over anything else. Something I seemed not to convey clearly in my original post was that James really is just a friend, and has been for the past year. And so, because of that, I don't use him for anything that a parent would do. On the "he's not a babysitter or daycare" post especially, he sees her maybe once every 6 weeks, and since our relationship ended, he's been alone with her 3 times at the most. So, this is not me using our former relationship as a tool for free childcare. He asks to see my daughter, but I don't make him make time for her. As a final clarification point, this has never been an "I want him, so you can't have him" situation. Our time together will always be cherished, but I do not want to pursue a romantic relationship with James again, and he doesn't want to be with me. On to the update. After reading the comments to my post and thinking over the issues, I decided to send both James and Tracy messages, apologizing for my reaction and my heat-of-the-moment accusations. The day after I made the post, James responded by saying that it was water under the bridge and he would have been annoyed too in the situation. Tracy's response was different. All she sent was a message saying, "I know he is your daughter's father." I assured her that James was not my child's dad, and even went as far as to apologize if I had seemed off with her or if my current relationship with James was an issue. She asked if we could meet up and talk, which I agreed to. We met for coffee, and she said that she had been off with me, but not because of my relationship with James. She said that last year she had found out that she was infertile, and while James knew and was supportive, seeing him with my little girl, whom she knew he helped raise for several years, got to her, which resulted in comments about him as daddy. She then said that the whole photographer situation was set up. She had asked her friend who lived near the park to come and take some pictures of her, James, and the children. As soon as it was clear that I was going to have to leave, she told James the same thing she told me about the friend happening to be in the park and wanting some portfolio shots, but told the friend out of James's earshot that I was totally fine with the pictures happening and that James was my daughter's father, so she had an on-site parent regardless. She was the one who suggested the family portrait shot. She told the friend to stick that one online, but that the individual ones of my daughter needed to go through me first. She didn't think that I would be interested in looking at the other photos and thought I wouldn't see them. She said that having a picture of her, her partner, a little boy, and a little girl was enough to keep her going since her medical news was hitting her hard. Tracy ended by saying that since James is the only father that my daughter has ever known, she is therefore the closest thing that she will ever have to a child with him. Yeah, that's a stretch. I didn't quite know how to respond. After reading many comments on my post saying that I was a jealous harpy and that Tracy was an innocent bystander, or even calmer versions of that mindset, I was surprised that my actual suspicions were actually correct somewhat. This was not the reasoning I ever thought was behind this. Though I thanked her for her honesty and asked if she was talking to anyone else about this, she said she wasn't, but she knew she should be. She also said that James knew nothing of the extent to which she was feeling, other than sometimes she was a little blue. We spent a while searching online for local mental health specialists and left it with her promising to make an appointment and talk to James. After getting home, I contacted James to say that I believed that there needed to be some distance established between him and my daughter to benefit everyone involved in the situation. He said he agreed and that he would always be there for my daughter if she needed him. I asked my daughter that evening, more out of curiosity as to how she views James, and all she said was that James was James's nephew's uncle. So I'm taking that to mean that she is by no means dependent on him. At the very least, I don't know if this is the end of this, and I'm sure I will get some criticism for not cutting out James altogether or for even limiting the existing contact. But I believe this will benefit everyone, including Tracy, in the long run. Thank you again for everyone's advice. Story 2. My husband died, and I have to pretend that he was a great man who loved me. Original story. My husband passed away 3 months ago. I was relieved of that. He abused me financially, mentally, and even physically. When I got pregnant, he convinced me to quit my job, saying that he would take care of me. I could never buy anything again without asking his permission. I couldn't even buy a cream without asking his permission. And he decided if I could or not. Even months ago, that I had a little money of my own, I had to ask him for permission to buy something. What was mine was his and his was his. But I stayed there because I still loved him, and I didn't have a place to go. I had too low self-esteem and let myself be stepped on. When I stopped loving him, he had already had his first affair. He made me believe that I was to blame for the affair because I didn't want to have sex months after my birth that left me torn and I had to receive stitches. I was already planning my exit and saving money little by little while I was working selling things from home. Since he wouldn't let me work outside because he was very jealous, I wanted to pay for a lawyer. He was having another affair with a friend of his, which luckily kept him busier, and I didn't care anymore that he didn't pay attention to me. I wanted him to stay as far away as possible. I knew that man, and he knew me. I could have made a big fuss, but I didn't. I kept quiet, planning my way out while he and that man slept together in secret. I only felt disgusted by my husband, nothing more. But my husband died in a way I never would have expected. He is now a martyr. When someone dies, all the sins of that person disappear? Because that's what even my family thinks. Those who knew about his affair and how he manipulated me are now talking about how good man he was, and we shouldn't insult someone who's dead. Everyone around me talks about how beautiful our relationship was. His family talks about what a great man he was, and how always he focused on giving everything to me and our kid. His affair partner hugged me at the funeral, saying that my husband loved me. His friends told me what a great person he was. Everyone talks about how good, but he was, and how he is now an angel in heaven. And I have to pretend to be sad. The day he died, I cried a lot, but not out of sadness. I cried with relief, and I felt free. It would have taken me too many years to save to pay for lawyers with my little store without him realizing that I was keeping money in secret. He would have kept everything. He would have made my life a hell, and I know it because he had told me so every time I stood for myself. But now I have the house, I have everything. I have the monthly money for being a widow, I have my children totally with me. I have started the psychologist. Everyone thinks that I do it to cope with my grief, but no, it is to overcome the abuse I suffered from him. It was really hard to pretend being sad in the funeral, but I did it for my child. I did it because now everything is over and I'm free. If I made a fuss, my ex-Mill would have done something so that I wouldn't keep anything. They were just like him. But now I'm just a sad widow who needs help in their eyes, the silly widow who didn't know anything, but that's helping me to be free and have what I deserve. Sorry for the bad English. I used the translator for many parts. Edit. We are not from an Islamic country, and here, same-sex couples can live and marry freely. He just cheated on me with a man like he cheated on me with a woman. I guess he was bisexual. Now for the update. It's been several weeks since I last posted, and I didn't expected my post to end in another places. Honestly, I had totally forgotten that I posted here. But a few days ago, the lover and friend of my ex-husband, I have started calling my deceased husband that way. I don't want to be eternally tied to the idea that he is still my husband, even after death. Death did me the favor of separating us, visited my house saying that he found my post. I didn't expect him to find this, and it scared me a bit. But honestly, there's nothing I can do about this anymore if someone has posted it elsewhere without asking me first. One of my sons let him in when I hadn't heard the doorbell, so I had no choice but to let him in to not make a drama in front of my kids, and I wanted to know what he was going to say. Once alone, he told me that he knows that I know about him and my husband having an affair because of the post I sent to TikTok, although I never did any post on TikTok. That's why I think someone uploaded this there. He told me that my husband was not the best husband, but he was a great friend to everyone and a very hardworking man to everyone, that even his family misses him too much, and even though he had his mistakes in the past, that I should let go of the past and stop digging into it, because we're all better off like that. He was insisting for a while, to such an extent that I felt intimidated by him, to the point he reminded me of my husband. And it is the first time that I have that feeling with a man that is not my ex-husband. I can talk peacefully with them, but this situation made me feel on the verge of a panic attack because of his attitude. He's basically scared that I'll tell everything. He's gay, and I don't know if he has a boyfriend, but maybe he does, and that's why he doesn't want me to say anything about their affair. I've been a submissive woman for years. My ex-husband turned me into a fearful woman that I wasn't before. He made me the kind of woman who was always going to put her head down, but when he died, I felt so happy and liberated. I cried with relief for days. And when this man came into my house to tell me what to do, it was like seeing my ex-husband again, giving me instructions about how to behave and what to do. The man who knows very well that I was in an abusive relationship because he knew how my ex was and chose to sleep with him anyways. The man my husband made me cook for and then fucked him as if I were just a maid was at my house, telling me that my ex was a good person and that I should shut my mouth. He was telling me what to do, and I just punched his face. To be honest, I wanted to slap him, but for some reason I felt so angry that I hit him, and it felt like hitting my husband too. I don't regret it, and I felt good. I yelled at him and told him to leave, or I was going to tell everyone what happened. He ended up leaving the house, and he has been quiet since that day. My main plan was just to shut my mouth and let go of the past. But that is one thing, and a totally different thing is that this man comes and wants to impose on me what to do as if I were a doll. Maybe my reaction wasn't the best, but I'm tired of people telling me to shut up. I never managed to say anything to my husband, and that day I felt that I somehow did that. I haven't told anyone yet, nor do I think about doing so. But if he does something, I won't hesitate twice before this time, whether to make a TikTok or post on Facebook talking about everything. With the issue of the house, with the economic crisis, I am not sure that anyone can afford what a house like this is worth. But for now, I have focused on finally being able to get a better job in the future, to be able to rent a house and be able to rent this house. That could be a really good way to have money. My other goal in the future is to buy a small piece of land, no matter how far it is. I want to have something that is my own and my children. My children don't miss their father too much, and I understand them. It has taken me a while to get them a child psychologist, but recently they started to go to their sessions and they are doing well. I also go to a psychologist. I think the best thing I've done is to start making excuses for my ex-MIL and my own family for not seeing them as often as before. And I've started the stage of cutting off contact little by little, making excuses with work or that we're not at home. Although I still have to let my ex-mother-in-law come home from time to time. I think even my kids are happier when they see that my own mood is better. I doubt that many people are interested in this, but thank you for the messages I received. Although many do not understand that cultures and laws are different, and here, buying a house or moving to the other side of a country in a month of impossible for many.